What's up, everybody? Welcome into Mando Talk. We can't do that because that's not the intro. What are we doing,
No, it's
TJ?
not.
That's wrong.
Yeah, I'm just as out as practice, so it's all good.
Take two. You know what? I actually think I should leave this in for comedic relief. Take two.
I believe you should too.
What's up, all of you Ugnots and Jawas out there, and welcome into a new episode of Mando Talk. I'm your host, Caleb Keller, and I'm joined by the ever giggly co-host, DJ Foster at Rebel Scum Texan.
Oh my gosh!
Welcome back, man. We're off to a great
good to be
start.
back.
Hey,
Absolutely.
This is a rocky start, if you will. You know, it's kind of like the Falcon. I feel like we're trying to get the ship going again. It's been a minute.
That's it. Yeah, or Mando after he's trying to get it back from the Jawas. I mean, there's a lot of analogies and metaphors we could use here.
Well, hey, this is a 3-day, 3-podcast episode special that we've got going on here, which is big time for us. I hope it's big time for you. So if you're just now checking out Mando Talk, be sure to hit that subscribe button wherever you're at, and that way you can check out the other two. So what we're going to do tonight, or today, on day one, we've got an Acolyte trailer breakdown. Day two, we're going to give you our review of Tales of the Empire. Day three, make sure you come back because we're going to review season 3 of The Bad Batch. With all that down, man, anything you want to say? Because it's been a minute. It's really been a minute for all of us. But anything
it has been a minute.
To the lovely Mando Talk listeners, what you got?
I saw The Phantom Menace in theaters on Star Wars Day.
That's awesome.
And let me tell you, there is nothing better than Phantom Menace or any Star Wars movie in a theater. Let's just, for real, it is too good. It was awesome. I realized how many Jar Jar Binks quotes I knew.
There you go.
I think I knew every line of dialogue Jar Jar says. I think just for some reason it was just there and it just came flooding back. It was incredible. But that was great. You know, and the cool thing about that was I got to take my youngest brother with me, who was born nearly a full decade after Phantom Menace release. So he's never seen it in a theater, not even when it was showing in 3D, because he was only like 4 years old, I think. So there's no reason for me to take him then. Mm-hmm. And so now it's like, man, he's 15, and it's just cool that we got to go to this movie together. Yeah, and we brought one of his friends with us too, so it was a lot of fun just to kind of do that, and Star Wars Day for me, it's a full-blown holiday.
Oh yeah.
I get the family involved. We can go to the toy store and wear the t-shirts, and if this year see a movie, it's just it's really cool just kind of doing all that. And plus, binging Tales of the Jedi, which I know is not coming today, but it was really fun to do all that. So
yeah,
it's just been a great weekend, and I'm excited that I got to go do that. And it's a lot of fun. And not to mention too, on top of that, is like, I'm bummed that movie theaters don't give out like ticket stubs anymore. So I go and make my own ticket stubs for movies and just design them myself.
Yeah.
So I put that on Twitter. So if anybody wants to check that out, I've got it up on Twitter. But that's kind of the easy stuff there. It's the thing that I've been thinking about the most.
Yeah.
And let's be real, I'm thinking about Phantom Menace all the time.
Yeah, we know.
But the great thing about the Phantom Menace movie was that at the end of that movie, I got a sneak peek of the Acolyte.
Yeah, you did. And
that was really, really cool. And I tried sending that video. Oh, nope. No, I didn't. I didn't try sending anything to Caleb.
No, I think I've seen it. I think I've seen the footage leaked on Twitter, so I think you're okay. But it's okay. Just correct me if I'm wrong. It's a continuation of the fight between May and the Matrix chicks fight.
yeah, Dreadlock, the red Dreadlock girl.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got to figure out her name because I don't know any characters' names.
It's in our trailer breakdown notes that we're about to get cranking here. So
good.
So let's go ahead and get into it, man.
Yeah, let's go.
I'm excited because this was a well-anticipated trailer. It was a very good way to celebrate Star Wars Day, if you will, getting an Acolyte trailer. That's very exciting. So let's go ahead. Let's get into it. The trailer opens up on a cloudy, mountainous planet with a beautiful sunset in the background as a character named Tassi Loa. By the way, captions are your friends when creating breakdown notes, people. FYI, let me throw that out there. The character named Tassi Loa says, last night, a Jedi was murdered. Then we cut to Amandla Stenberg's character, May, her feet walking away from a lightsaber on the ground as she uses the Force to pick up one of her knives. Now, this is my personal speculation. My best guess is Carrie Ann Moss's green lightsaber Jedi we have seen in the first trailer named Indara, aka that same Jedi that we saw in the extended cut that you got to see watching The Phantom Menace at theaters. My guess is she's the one that gets killed, and that's the lightsaber that we see on the ground there in that barn-looking building. What do you think about that? And what do you think about these first, that's 6 seconds. We're currently 6 seconds into the trailer.
It's intriguing to say the least. You know, I don't know if that is her lightsaber or not. Now, the great thing about the leak, if you saw Phantom Menace in the theater, or if you saw the 24-hour, you know, marathon that was all 9 saga films, because some people did that, and kudos to those folks. But, you know, if you saw it, you know, I think that they do show her lightsaber in her hand, like you physically see it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember what it looks like. I'm one of those fans who can usually like, okay, that's Mace Windu's lightsaber.
Right.
You know,
well,
I can usually,
like these are brand new characters that we know absolutely nothing about.
Yeah, and that's the toughest thing about this. So I can't really say whether or not I think that's her lightsaber right now, because I need to go back and rewatch some of those clips and just be okay, that's her lightsaber. Now, if she was the one that was in fact murdered, I think it's kind of a bummer thing to start off with in the trailer, you know, or even with the series, because like that's a pretty well-known actress.
Yeah, it is.
You know, and I don't think it would make a lot of sense to kill off one of the characters, you know, being played by somebody who's kind of a household, you know, recognized. You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. No, I agree. And I bet too, I'm curious. You remember the very first teaser poster they released with the blood, like the bloody line? I'm wondering if this is the same hilt. Because if it is, then I think that's telling potentially too.
You know, I don't think this is the same hilt. The hilt from that poster, it looked to me a little more Palpatine-ish. Okay. I'm not saying it's Palpatine's lightsaber. That would be insane.
Yeah.
But, you know, just to me, that's what that one looked like.
Okay.
And this one doesn't really have that look to it. In fact, I'm pulling it up right now. Ooh, I'm eating my words. I'm going to eat my words right now.
It looks the same.
Bro, I think it's the exact same lightsaber, honestly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a bummer.
I think it's Indara's.
You know,
I think it's the character Indara that's getting killed here.
Okay.
I mean, why not? Why not?
I don't want to say who yet, you know, because like I really because I've seen that clip, you know, I've seen that piece from the theater, and I really enjoyed watching that sequence. I don't want this character to be gone so quick.
Yeah.
I already kind of like that character.
That's fair.
So,
me too.
But if it happens, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
You know, all's good in the Force. It's all good.
Agreed. All right. Well, let's keep rolling. We see the Jedi Temple looking rather gold compared to the darker tones in the prequel trilogy, which makes sense to me in this High Republic era. Jedi Master Soul, played by Squid Games' Lee Jung-jae, is training Padawans, one being Daphne Keen's Jackie Lan, in what looks to be the same room where Obi-Wan and Anakin's training scene in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series was located. A very interesting detail I noticed on, like, I don't know, this is maybe my 10th, 11th watch of this trailer. The Padawans here have colored belts, and I'm wondering if that's something that the Jedi during the High Republic do to recognize different levels of training, very similar to what you see in today's age with karate. Black belt, all those different belt colors. That's something I never really got into, so I don't really know all of them. But that idea, at least, what do you think of those thoughts here in this training sequence?
I think that's cool. I think it's a little too on the nose because it's a color belt, and that's a little, you know, too much. But I would say, kind of just an idea would be that maybe this is a precursor to the Padawan braid. Ooh. Where maybe the belt is a representation of whether or not you have a master.
That's a good point, because I don't know if we've seen any. Have we seen any braids in either of the trailers that we've gotten?
I don't think so. Not that I'm remembering off the top of my head. So
maybe this is
even if we were to pull up like, maybe. I mean, even if we pulled up like the character poster that was dropped on Star Wars Day, it might kind of lend a little bit more information to that. But even so, I'm just throwing out an idea. You know, like if if you wanted to do something where there's this evolution of how they dress, then that, or how they appear, then that, I think that's kind of neat. You know, it actually lends, I think, itself to more the prequel era.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, next up in the trailer, we've got a character, and if I say this wrong, guys, I've probably said all the characters' names wrong so far. Kimir is saying the following quote: "The Jedi justify their galactic dominance in the name of peace, but that peace is a lie." And he's saying that to Amandla's May. And I would imagine that quote that we get there is like the quote that's essential to the story that the Acolyte is trying to tell. Very menacing quote from that dude. I've already got my eye on this guy. Like, he could very easily be at play as far as helping May kill Jedi for sure. What do you think of that guy and the quote?
Honestly, I haven't considered much on that character because I'm distracted by who's playing him, and that's the dumb guy from The Good Place. So it's kind of it's a good series. Like, it's not like, I wouldn't put it up there with like Friends or The Office or anything like that, but it's decent, you know.
Okay.
But I'm just distracted by him more than anything in that, because I'm like, oh, it's that guy. But I think the quote, you're onto something, because it shows the beginning of the end. I think, for the Jedi. And you know, it's funny, you know, they say Rome wasn't built in a day. Well, in this case, an empire or a republic or a Jedi order doesn't fall in a day. So there's the slow chipping away that has to happen. The Sith know that. And the Jedi are too arrogant to think it's coming. So yeah, it makes perfect sense for where we're at in the timeline.
All right. Well, during that quote, a ship travels through light speed. Master Soul walks by a prison that appears to be in the Jedi Temple. A character climbs up a brick building, and May and Indara have their standoff in a wooden barn-looking building that we saw in the first trailer, and again, that DJ got an extended look at during the Phantom Menace. Anything that stands out to you during that segment as far as those little action frame by frames?
I kind of want this character to be a Sith.
May?
Yeah, I think May is the lady who was in the Matrix, right?
No. Indara is the lady that was in the Matrix.
Okay, so I kind of want Indara to maybe be a Sith.
Indara's the one that I'm thinking dies right here. The green lightsaber woman.
Well, yeah. Well, maybe it's a bait and switch thing. You know, she's dead. She comes back, and she's actually the Sith. Like, that'd be kind of fun. Like, I would be okay with that. I think that would be exciting, because I don't like her as a good guy. I think she looks better as a villain. Now, that's just me.
I'm following,
and it may just be a little bit of a Matrix thing in there where they're all in dark clothing the whole time. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I really just like this actor as a villain, and I'm okay if that doesn't happen. This is one of those series, like, I don't have expectations for this one.
Yeah. No, I'm kind of like that. That's something that I feel like all of the videos that I've been doing on the Acolyte so far, I keep trying to mention, don't have, in some way, maybe not saying it right on the nose, but go into it with little expectation. Because I think this is one of those, or not necessarily little expectation, but little speculation rather.
Yeah.
It's one of those, if you speculate, it's you start to tell yourself, okay, that's the way it's got to happen. And then when it doesn't happen that way, you're just setting yourself up for disappointment. And I'm usually the guy that likes to speculate. Let's be real. DJ, you probably know that. So
you do like to speculate, and there's nothing wrong with speculating.
Yeah.
I want to make that clear. There's nothing wrong with it.
Speculate responsibly. That's the phrase.
Yes. Now, I want to, if we can for a second, because we are watching this quick little battle between the two characters here in the barn. And it's actually not a barn. It's actually a bar.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's right. That's right. Because I think later in the trailer, there's a little table that gets flipped. That's very bar-like.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's in that part of the sequence I got to watch. Well, I just kind of skimmed through it to see it real quick, and that lightsaber at the beginning. I'm sending you a screenshot of it right now, Caleb. It is definitely that same lightsaber.
Okay, so she dead.
Or
is she? Is she? Yeah.
Or is she?
Yeah.
Or is she a Sith? We'll see.
That would be quite the shock. Quite the shock. All right. Well, if we continue on here, we've got Jedi Yord, and I made note here that this is the guy that's got the Killmonger hair from Black Panther, played by Charlie Bennett. Says Jedi are being hunted as we see May do some flips and attempts to stab a dude, and a lightsaber seems destroyed and half buried in the ground. I will say the dialogue bit, for some reason, and this was the very first time I watched this trailer, for some reason, the dialogue delivery of Jedi are being hunted didn't really work for me in the moment, but I get that that's what's going on in the show. So it was needed to let viewers know, hey, Jedi are being hunted here. But it was just like, well, obviously, dude, I just saw clips of a Jedi trying to get attacked.
They're just really making sure nobody, misunderstands.
No,
You're like, this is what you're getting in this show. Don't be attached, I think is what they're saying.
That's fair.
But I think there's another element to this, because I'm paused on the moment where the lightsaber is just kind of sticking up out of the red looking crate, salt, dirt, or whatever, and it's making me think, what if, I'm thinking back to some Vader comics, and I've got actually those comics behind me now. But if we were to pull those out and look at them, there's a moment in the story where Palpatine sends Vader out to kill a Jedi. And then he has to take that Jedi's lightsaber and the crystal and bleed it, and it becomes his lightsaber now, and thus the red blade. I wonder if part of the Jedi hunting that we're seeing here leads to that.
That would, awesome.
That'd be building on the lore, I think, quite a bit that Disney has established in physical media, not so much on on screen. So that'd be kind of fun. It'd be interesting.
That would be awesome, man. I would love if they really dive deep into lore like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sign me up. Sign me up, for sure.
I'm all for it too.
Man, I love that. All right. Master Soul says, she was my student. I trained her. Let me be the one to bring her in, while showing a flashback of him handing a lightsaber to presumably young May, which it appears she comes from I don't know what to call these people. Comes from the blue cloaked hooded witchy people. Literally all the descriptors that I could think of. May kick flips and attacks Master Soul. So there's definitely history between these two characters. That was something that they decided to establish in this trailer. Very important. That is something, though, for me, I picked up on in the teaser. So that reveal here wasn't necessarily new to me. We've got this former Padawan, this former connection between these two people. She's now doing bad stuff. She's now apparently hunting Jedi. And now he's trying to bring her back. What I find more interesting is what's going on with these people that May come from. That's what I find very intriguing, because, and we'll get to it, so maybe I need to hold off on saying it, but there's a line from one of those characters later in the trailer that smells fishy to me. That's all I'll say for right now. Yeah. But what do you think of this segment?
I love this because it's kind of answering not a question necessarily, but kind of, I guess, making you think about, well, what if Asajj Ventress's master hadn't died? And going back to Clone Wars, and because it's similar, it's a parallel of sorts. It's like poetry, it rhymes. So what we have happening here is a nice little, parallel, and then there's probably other parallels we could make to like a Vader Obi-Wan thing. And the difference, there's a lot of differences right off the bat, and I won't go into all of them, but there are. I like this. I think it's fun. I think it's exciting, and it makes me want to kind of root for the hunt. It's kind of going back to Clone Wars. It's like when Ahsoka is on the island and the Trandoshans are having to find her. Mm-hmm. You're not rooting for her to be hunted, but when they turn the game around and then they start to hunt the Trandoshans, as it were, it's kind of like, I feel that way. I'm rooting for the story, I guess, more or less. And I think this is really going to be fun.
I hope so, man. I hope so. Well, continuing on here, we've got a starship that comes out of light speed and detaches from a hyperspace ring, but it's not really like a ring that we saw in the prequels that like Obi-Wan used in Attack of the Clones. It's more so like a direct, perfectly fit onto that starship before it detaches. The prequel in me loved that concept. Let's be real. I freaked out.
Yeah.
I freaked out. Yeah. I'm sure you did too.
I won't say I freaked out, but I did love it because it was just enough to remind me of, modern science where we see rockets having to detach as they leave the atmosphere. Yeah. Versus, hyperspace rings. Honestly, until you said that, I really didn't think about it being a hyperspace ring, but it makes perfect sense that it's kind of like, I don't know, like a hyperspace pod. Sure. I don't know what else to call it. Yeah. Something like that. Yeah. But it's neat. I think it's really cool, like an engine detaching thing. It's a lot of it's fun to build off of off of things that we already recognize in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at like A New Hope versus Phantom Menace, there's like very little there that's the same. And so when you go back just 100 years and see there are some similarities, I think it's a good visual thing to say, hey, we're still in the same universe.
Yeah.
It's fun that way.
Yeah.
Keeps it fresh, but it keeps it, I know what's happening.
Sure. No, I 100% agree with that. All right, rolling on here. Master Vernestra, played by Rebecca Henderson, says, I sense this is only a small part of a larger plan, some sort of shift to tip the scales as we see those blue-cloaked people performing some form of ritual. Then a young Jedi, Tobin, played by Game of Thrones' Dean Charles Chapman, has his eyes turned black as he passes out. Yet again, more proof that I'm not trusting these blue cloaked people. Side note, though, that Master Vernestra, I learned very recently, is a character that has been established in the High Republic novels. Mm-hmm. Apparently, this is going to be the character that's got the lightsaber whip and not just a normal lightsaber. So if they decide to pull that out in live action, I'll be intrigued to see what that looks like. What do you think of this clip?
Well, my whole Padawan belt thing just got destroyed because this kid totally has a Padawan braid.
Oh,
but
good pickup.
That aside, I'm not mad about it. Maybe a little bit. No, I'm not. I'm not. But
hey, I love a good Jedi braid.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. If I could tolerate growing my hair out, I'd have a Jedawan. Almost a Jedawan. That's not a word.
It's funny. My brother has one. He has grown it out, and it's legit. It's legit.
Attaboy. Is it down like here? Is it like Obi-Wan, Phantom Menace?
It's about to shoulder.
That's decent, man. That's decent. That's impressive, dude. I knew a guy in college who did it, but his was like, and his name was Hayden, which is pretty cool.
Hey,
but
there you go.
It was just kind of like right back here, and he called it a braid. And I'm like, bro, that's not a Padawan braid. That's like a freaking. It's like you barber missed a spot. That's what that is. But aside from that, these witch ladies are giving me Night Sister vibes. I know they're not Night Sisters because they're not in red and they're not. Well, they don't look like Night Sisters. They're similar though. Yeah. And I'm all for that deviation from the Jedi and from the Sith because it'd be silly to think in such a vast universe there's only one religion. Of the Force. It makes sense that there would be some culty looking things and some witchy looking things and different kinds of avenues. I mean, even Maz Kanata in Force Awakens talks about how she's no Force user, but she knows what the Force looks like and all that kind of stuff. So it makes sense that she would understand something that isn't something she necessarily believes in. It's not hard to kind of put those puzzle pieces together. But aside from that, I think it's cool. I think it's fun, as fun as witches can be, but
sure.
It's not, they're not going full hocus pocus here, but it's still, it looks neat.
It's very intriguing. Very intriguing. I'm very anxious to see what's going on with those people. May walks on a rocky, wet terrain, which definitely reminds me of Octu from The Last Jedi. And we see a dark cloaked individual in the distance, which it's safe to say we know who that is now. Do you think this is Octu? Because that is heavy speculation online.
I want it to be Octo.
Okay.
I really do because I want to see more of Octo in some form of Jedi related media. I don't do comics. I don't really read these High Republic novels, and at this point, I'm too far behind to even try to keep up.
Same.
So I have to rely on. Oh yeah, I have to rely on Wikipedia. I've got to rely on people who've read these things. So for me, I don't know if it's existed anywhere else up to this point. Now, having said that, I want this to be Octo because it looks like Octo. It looks like the landscape. Or if it's not Octo, I want it to be an island nearby. It's like, hey, over there. Even if they don't go there, it's fine. If they're like, hey, that's the first Jedi temple over there. Okay, cool. And let's go over here and do this. Like, I'm okay with that. I just want this to be some sort of weird connection to the weird hole in the ground that Rey jumps into in Last Jedi. Because I'm so desperately want Lucasfilm to fix the mistakes that they've made in the past to bridge the gaps. and thank goodness for Bad Batch and Ahsoka for doing things like that. So I want this to be a part of that.
Yeah,
And I think that Lucasfilm understands that and they're working towards that.
I think so too.
Um, and so this being Octo will pull in so many people because they're like, well, that's where Luke was. Well,
Yeah.
maybe there's something, and then maybe by watching it, they'll be like, well, that's what Luke's problem was. Maybe.
Yeah, no, I agree. I certainly hope it is that location. Even, I've voiced it. I have concerns and complaints with The Last Jedi, but I'm still of the opinion if they had doubled down on The Last Jedi and went off of that story in episode 9, that the sequel trilogy would have played better. So I'm at the point
Yep.
where The Last Jedi is there. Let's use its positives and expand the lore with what's there and make it all play better.
100%.
And this is a way to do it, I think. And it makes sense if this is in fact one of the earliest, if not the earliest Jedi temples. If we're in the Acolyte, we're set before the prequels. Like, yeah, this would be a great spot to explore that lore a little bit more and see what's going on there.
Totally agree.
All right, here we go. Next up. In a cool shot, we see Master Soul piloting a starship through a planetary ring of some kind, and later in the trailer, he crashes through that ring. I just thought it was a really cool visual. Did you enjoy this visual?
Oh, always.
Okay.
Always. I mean, there's a guy flying through space. It's always cool. It doesn't matter if it's freaking Matthew McConaughey or this guy. Like, it's great. Fly through space. It's always fun.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. May's quote, "It's time to face the past," with some neon green thing around her neck. I don't know if you can get to that frame, but I might want to come back to you here in just a second and you maybe clue us in on what that might be. Her necklace, what's attached to it. But anyway, let me keep going. May says it's time to face the past as a building built between mountains explodes. Then we cut to a young May running through the forest, although one of the characters that we see here that's running is cloaked, while in the first teaser, the character was not cloaked. So that made me potentially speculate, is there two characters going on here, or is it just May removing her cloak that then later in the first teaser, that's why May's not cloaked anymore? I don't know. That's just me being crazy. That's just me being the host of Mando Talk. If you're not new here, you know that I'm like that. If you are new here, I'm sorry, but you might enjoy that aspect of it. Who knows? But some interesting things going on here with May. Any thoughts on what's around her neck? Any ideas?
Man, I mean, she's an assassin. Maybe it's poison.
Mm.
Just kind of going in the easy route. The more Star Warsy route could be a kyber crystal.
That's what I was hoping for, but it didn't really look that way,
Maybe it's a kyber crystal like in a tube.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Like I don't know if you've ever gone like tubing down like a river or anything like that. Not like behind a boat necessarily, but like if you go in there, you can get those little plastic containers you can keep like your cash and important stuff down in and wear it around your neck or whatever. It kind of looks like it could be one of those things, but inside it might be a kyber crystal or I don't know, chain codes don't exist yet in this part of the timeline, so it's not going to be something like that. But I don't know. It just could be something that ties her back to her witchy past or something. It could be a lot of things.
It could be. All right. Well, good analysis there, DJ.
Yeah, I try. It's not great, but
that's better than what I would have come up with for sure.
I want to provide avenues to consider. Yeah, is really where I'm at here.
Okay. So also, again, me speculating hardcore. Let me go back to that idea of, let's just say hypothetically it is two young characters running through this forest. And that's why the two people look a little bit different versus this trailer versus our original first teaser. I don't know if you can visually remember that or not. The first teaser, it was definitely young May. This one, they're cloaked. Could easily still be May, but let's just roll with this idea that it's two completely different characters. Maybe they're escaping something together. My thought was, okay, the Jedi have done something that sets May off, and maybe this other person that's with her, maybe for some reason the Jedi kill that person, and that's what makes May even more, oh, the Jedi really aren't about peace like they say they are. Could be an interesting idea, but I lean toward it still just being May, and it's just a different frame in this sequence.
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, but if you go back and look at the character poster that dropped on May 4th, you'll see that the backdrop is May, and then someone who looks like May, and it's
Speculation there. I've heard people
yeah,
say that there's twins
you know,
going
and
on.
I flat out tweeted that. That was actually released on May 3rd, not May 4th. But whenever I retweeted something about it, I was like, is Amanda Stenberg pulling a Tom Hardy and playing her own twin? Like, it, to me, it kind of looks like that might be what's happening. By the way, I've never seen that movie, but I do know references and such. So
Yeah.
it's just one of those, like, what's happening here? Is she, and then you go the Star Wars obvious route and say, well, is she a clone? You know, and what's actually going on here? You know, and I think all things are possible. And I wouldn't be so far fetched to say that cloning existed before Attack of the Clones or Phantom Menace, because why wouldn't it? I mean, they even when Obi-Wan goes to Dex's cafe, you know, he's like, these cloners, you know, these Kaminoans, you know, he talks about them as if he knows about cloning and he's seen it done before. No one ever throws out the idea, well, no one's ever been cloned before. No one throws that out in the prequels ever. So it's not impossible that cloning exists here. And I'm just going, that's just one area of speculation. The easy answer is twins, but to quote Sherlock Holmes on the fantastic BBC series Sherlock, it's never twins. So if it's twins, it's lazy writing. If it's clones, it's Star Wars. You know, that's kind of where I'm at.
We could see. I think I'll let it play, but I think it's just definitely a possibility. I think really all of them are possibilities. In Star Wars, cloning is always at play. In Star Wars, twins are always in play. Also, as Star Wars fans, we could be reading into this way too much, and it's the same exact character, and they're just in two different phases of life. That's all.
Totally fine. Totally fine. I didn't feel like wearing a hoodie today.
Exactly.
That's what it is. That's all it is.
All right. Well, next up in the trailer, I figured you would appreciate this visual. For me, it was a very Lord of the Rings type of shot as Jedi are walking on the side of a green mountain. Had to give that shout out.
And as a Lord of the Rings fan, I appreciate it. And as a Lord of the Rings fan, I would be remiss to not mention that yesterday we did lose a Lord of the Rings cast member.
We did.
Bernard Hill, who played King Theoden, also the captain of the Titanic in the movie Titanic. But it's one of those, like, he's one of my favorite characters in Lord of the Rings, so it's kind of a bummer. But going back to Star Wars now, I think this is still Octo.
Ooh.
I mean, I think that they're walking across a mountain landscape very similar to that earlier Octo shot. I mean, if you go back and look at that other shot, you'll see that there's a decently sized ship on some kind of a bank. I mean, these ships aren't necessarily small. I mean, the Falcon landed on Octo and it can carry like 400 people. Mm-hmm. That's not true, but you guys know what I'm saying. Like, it can carry a lot of people.
I got you.
And this group of people that I'm looking at in this shot, they could easily fit on, for example, the Millennium Falcon or the ship that is landed on that bank that we saw earlier. So I think this is Octo. Like, there are things in this that I'm like, okay, I don't have expectations. I do expect this to be Octo.
Okay, that's fair. That's certainly fair. Okay, next up in the trailer, in a flashback, Indara senses something that startles her. Not really much going on with that, but other than, regardless if Carrie-Anne Moss's character does get killed off, we'll at least get more of her in a flashback. So we're at least safe there, in my opinion. Does that make you feel a little better, at least?
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that we get her in flashbacks, you know, because if we have her in flashbacks, I think it does help soften the blow of such a prominent individual being killed off, early in the story. But it also adds a lot of gravity to the story because we get to grow, I guess, our fear of the end of, the series, or, the fear of losing a character we really are attached to grows by seeing this person in an earlier time, and then as time goes by, we know where, especially if it's a flashback that happens in like episode 2 or 3 and the death happens in episode 1, for example. It's nice to think, well, at least we got her over here, but also it's like, man, we see where it's leading now. We see where the dots are connecting, which
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
I love that about Star Wars.
All right. Well, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think that's what's at play.
That'd be,
It's what you just
and I think that would be
described.
I think that would be okay.
Yeah.
I think I'd be totally fine with that.
All right. Well, important note here again, getting a sense of what the show is about. The trailer uses the title text saying "No one is safe from the truth" in between frames. Definitely, I think that's a clue into maybe two different angles. One angle, truth being the Sith are brewing out there, and no one's safe from that. A second truth is maybe the Jedi aren't as great as you think they are. So two different angles at play for sure there with that quote. And then let's get to this thing. This is what I was talking about earlier. Mother Anicia, that's the main witchy looking character, says destiny is not decided for you by an anonymous force. If you want to pull the thread and change everything, then pull it. And she's saying this to a younger May is what I am led to assume. So that is making me potentially think that these people have been at play and at hand with and a helping part with bringing the Sith back into play. What do you think?
Just remembered something so important from Clone Wars. Caleb, by the way, just for our listeners, he made fun of me the other day for Clone Wars being my most rewatched series of Star Wars, which is totally true. And honestly, I get it. I'm nearly 30 years old and I'm still watching a cartoon. I get it. But it's a really good cartoon, guys.
It is.
There's episodes where we see Count Dooku go visit Mother Talzin and the Night Sisters, mentions somewhere that the Sith and the Night Sisters used to have some kind of a partnership. And Mother Talzin even was like, this is the last time my clan ever helps your kind, is kind of more or less how that goes down. And I think that I take back what I said earlier. I think these are Night Sisters. I think that there's just
like an early iteration.
Maybe not even an early, I don't want to say an early iteration. I just think that they are a type of Night Sister. You know, they do the magic things.
They live the bougier life.
They do. I think that they're like, we don't want to be all clouded in the red of Dathomir. Let's go over here and wear blue, but we still believe the same thing. You know, I think that's it's a denominational thing. Let's go with that.
Okay. Well, that is definitely an interesting idea. Regardless, I think
play off of that.
I think that this group is fishy. Like I said earlier, we
totally
can't trust these people.
And another behind the scenes thing that might make sense here is since Dave Filoni has kind of moved up the ranks at Lucasfilm for like the 47th time, he has this nice little kind of Overwatch of all things story right now, and it's possible he was like, okay, let's do something with your story over here. And let I can't remember the series runner for Acolyte. Oh man,
Leslie Headland.
And I think that maybe he's been like, all right, you got a good story here. Let's insert this, and fans will go nuts. Like, I think that would be a lot of fun to like play off of that. And then if I'm right, I can't wait for the Dave Filoni Star Wars show interview because that's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I would love to hear him talk about that.
All right. So much fun.
Well, we get to the final bits of the trailer where really it's just action ensuing. May flips a table to block gunfire. That's something that you've already alluded to. That was in your exclusive look during the Phantom Menace. Soul reaches out with the Force. May holds a knife to young Jekkie's throat. Explosions occur. Lightsabers ignite. Soul looks beaten up as he is on the ground and ignites his lightsaber. Then the big reveal of the trailer. A dark shadow ignites a red lightsaber. It has a dark, creepy, teethy looking helmet. And Soul asks what all of us as fans were asking, "What are you?" or something like that.
Yeah,
I think I read the comments. People were having fun with that one. If you just scroll down and look at some of the comments, people are asking the question, "What are you?" and then they're answering it with something random. At least that's what it was 2 days ago.
I'm seeing it right now.
Yeah,
the top one is, "What are you?" "I'm your father's brother's nephew's cousin's former roommate." What does that make us? Absolutely nothing.
There you go.
Spaceballs.
So yeah, that's the trailer. That's the big
This one says Jake from State Farm.
No, that's
Oh,
good.
that's good,
That's the
man.
big reveal, though. This character. Now, I think it
Yeah.
screams Knights of Ren personally, but I love the character design. I can't lie because as soon as I saw it, I got those feels down my spine, and the music that they played with it was pretty stellar as far as making you elicit that emotion of, ooh, this dude, he might be he might be him or
I
her.
mean,
We don't know if it's a dude or dudette. Let's be real. But
yeah,
regardless, they're a force to be reckoned with. Let's just say that.
they definitely will be a force to be reckoned with. I appreciate seeing a red blade because we
Hmm.
only got orange blades, really. We got kind of a red blade in Ahsoka, but we got orange blades mostly. So for this to be a red Sith blade, it's like, all right,
That's exciting. Yeah.
that's exciting. That's cool. First of all, you put something out on Twitter earlier today, talking about what do you think of the character design. This is my exact quote. So it looks like a xenomorph had a baby with Kylo Ren's helmet. It really does. Like it's a little.
The back of it particularly kind of cuts off
It's
like
so
Kylo's.
it's so Kylo, but that big old granny Cheshire cat
Freaky.
yeah, it's freaky, and I like that it's freaky because they're Sith. That's cool, and it's I think Darth Maul is kind of one of those that sets a precedence for what a Sith can look like.
Hmm.
And Vader does too. I'm not going to dismiss Vader, but Darth Maul is very Sith. It's just boom
Right.
on the nose. This is very close to that. And
Hmm.
in all honesty, now do I like it? No,
Ooh.
I think it is weak. I
Okay.
think it's a weak design because it just looks like let's just replace Kylo Ren's face and put something else on there. Is what
Okay.
it looks like
I
to
see
me.
that.
So I feel like it's weak. I feel like it's lazy.
Yeah.
And maybe if the cloak comes off in the fight and they reveal something else, I won't feel so bad
I was
about
going
it.
to
Right
say that
now,
too,
yeah.
because so far
Okay.
all we've got is a shot of this person in a super dark setting. Who knows? Maybe if light shines on that helmet, there's certain details on there that's like, oh snap, I didn't see that the first time. Or like you said, they take the cloak off and we see some form of armor or something that makes this character different from a villain that we've seen before. But I don't know. I dug it. I enjoyed it. But I was somebody that loved the Kylo Ren character design. So I'm okay with it being super close. Now, I guess we need to end on this final question. Is it a brand new character, or do you think it's a character they're pulling from Legends? Or
I've heard
Palpatine? I mean, that's not Legends.
no, I mean I've heard the rumors that it could be a Revan type of character, and they're going to insert him in here. I've heard Keanu Reeves might play him, and that's kind of like this big up in the air thing. I heard that from you
That's my
actually.
wish. That's my wish.
Yeah, yeah. I would love it to be a younger Palpatine personally. My gut tells me it won't be.
Yeah, the timeline of it all throws me off with Palpatine. I mean, dude would
Well,
be like 300 years old in the
well, I
original
mean,
trilogy.
I mean, I've heard people saying things like, and I said this to you whenever we were talking about it when it first came out. I said, "Hey, well, the dark side's a pathway to many abilities.
Sure.
Some consider to be unnatural. What if one of those unnatural abilities is to just slow your aging process? Because I mean, if you look at Palpatine and Phantom Menace, he's like I don't know, like 50 or 60.
Yeah.
Something like he's older, and then by the time we get to Return of the Jedi, dude's like 147. He's just like way old,
Hmm.
and it's like okay, like someone out there actually knows his age, and they're just like yelling at me, but I don't care if it's not Palpatine, but my gut tells me it's not. I won't say that it's Plagueis because I don't believe it's Plagueis.
Yeah.
And I know some people are throwing out, well, maybe it's Plagueis. I really want it to be a character that we see go from light to dark. I think it would be a lot of fun to watch a Jedi fall and go that direction. Now, how does that play into the whole Phantom Menace thing where Kiadamundi says, "Well, the Sith have been extinct for a millennium"?
Yeah.
I don't know, but right now it's just let the story play out and see what happens. What about you, man?
I'm just I would love before I saw the character design, I would have loved if it had been Plagueis. But I don't
Mm-hmm.
after seeing the character design, because I think you are the one that told me or reminded me that at least according to Legends, Plagueis is a banking clan looking species.
That's what I remember. I've got actually have the Darth Plagueis novel.
I can pull it up here
Here,
for
I'm
myself, but
holding it up real quick. Darth Plagueis. Now, I don't think that's how big
yeah.
he is.
Yeah, so I've actually got
But
it pulled up for the people looking on YouTube too, so you can see it
cool.
as we're talking about it. DJ, you can look at your novel, but yeah, that's definitely banking clan looking for sure, and it's a very elongated face, so I don't think that face is fitting under that helmet.
They're the Munes, the
Okay,
Mune people.
but then that led me down. Okay, well then, who is Darth Plagueis's master? And that would be Darth Tenebrous. Tenebrous. Name that I'm not familiar with, but a little bit more rounded of a face that could potentially fit under there. But again, all of this is Legends material, so we are not handcuffed to those character designs in the slightest. For me, I would hope that it's one of those two, or as a curveball, because I don't think it necessarily lines up in, again, timeline wise of what Legends used to be. I don't think Revan was ever this close to the prequel trilogy, but as far as a curveball, as a character that we know, that would be a nice third option that would certainly excite me.
Yeah, and I think a lot of fans would, be okay if they moved him up in the timeline a little bit, because it adds, I think, a lot of different things to the lore that's been established in the prequel era.
Yeah.
I think it'd be fine. Somebody out there is a diehard and be like, no, it's not the same, and that's fine if that's how you feel.
Yeah, no, I respect that take. I'm just not somebody that's read all of that stuff to where I'm like,
yeah,
that's got to be how you do it.
And let's be real. I would venture to say like 70% of all Star Wars fans haven't, if not more than that. Like, I haven't. I've tried reading Plagueis. I've gotten halfway through it because it's someone's gonna get mad at this. The first half of it is boring.
Ooh, yeah, someone's getting mad at you.
And and keep bear in mind, I'm not really an awesome reader. Don't let the books back here fool you. Okay. I'm not a great reader, but it's boring to me at times. So having said that, it's really hard for me to get past this is what he's doing behind the scenes to move the money from here to there. Like, I don't care. Just, I want to hear about where's the death part is kind of where, and I'm just bored.
I would be happy if it was a connection like that for sure overall, but I think just the history of how things have been with Star Wars storytelling, I would say 60% confident it's a brand new character.
Yep.
Entirely new. Maybe even 70% confident.
I'll give you 70-30.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll certainly see. But overall, I would say it was a good trailer. I think it's one that's gotten better for me as time has gone on. My original reaction has been on the YouTube channel since, I guess, Star Wars Day, May the 4th. So a few days. So you can see it in my initial reaction. I think I say it's a solid, good trailer, but it didn't really offer me anything brand new except the character design of our Acolyte or Sith-like person. But other than that, what did you think of the trailer?
It's a great solid trailer. It doesn't give away too much. It doesn't, it gives you what the story is. There's somebody hunting Jedi, and then that we're led to believe right now that Jedi hunter is a former Jedi.
Yes.
So I like that. That's all we need. Get out, go home. Let's get to June 4th.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, guess what? On June 4th, or close to it, of course, Mando Talk will be back as far as being a companion podcast for the Acolyte. So make sure you stay tuned and be subscribed on whatever platform you are listening. But also make sure you stay subscribed because we have 2 more podcast episodes coming in the next 2 days. We're going to be reviewing Tales of the Empire. That'll be tomorrow. And then Bad Batch Season 3 reviewed will be Thursday. So stay dialed in. But that wraps up our Acolyte official trailer breakdown. DJ, thanks for being here. And I look forward to you being here tomorrow, man.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun.
All right, let's get out of here. Subscribe to me on Twitter at Mando Talk and subscribe on all the platforms. And until tomorrow and next time, as always, we have spoken.